So it would appear to me that some of you have a very messy relationship with dihydrotestosterone. It is actually one of the only reasons that you're sitting here with a cock and balls between your legs and not a vagina. Unless you are sitting here with a vagina, and I'm curious to know why you are. Anyways, pressing on, let's move on to this idea, not this idea, this truth, this reality, this fact that dihydrotestosterone is 2 to 10 times more potent than testosterone. And I believe, it is one of my theories, that this could be a precursor into some of the pheromones such as androstenedione, androsterol. I know I'm pronouncing those wrong. I've said to myself that I should actually find out how to pronounce those properly. I can give you the written description, as it were, but I'll go into that a little bit later and how we can fundamentally break it down into each of its respective androgens. But first and foremost, you might be asking yourself, Joseph, why should I care about it? What is the point? What is the utility? Why should I be optimizing it other than the friendly free-base testosterone that I know and love so well? So first and foremost, we'll start with Edie. You know, it is amazing to me the continuity of Reddit posts, and I know we're going down an anecdotal lens, but if anecdotal isn't truth of reality, then, well, by very definition, it actually is. The amount of men that are posting on Reddit that they're having a problem keeping and maintaining an erection. And, you know, it's not just the men who are commenting on these Reddit posts and creating these posts, but it's actually women saying that their man, their husband, their fiance, whatever the case may be, is struggling. And these aren't old men either. We're talking about men in their 20s, some in their teens and early 30s as well. And one of the contributions you should certainly consider is dihydrotestosterone. Low libido, equally, you can factor into that particular equation. The interesting continuity for me is its effects in mood instability, such as irritation, prone to agitation and anxiety, depression, or lower negative emotion could be a contributing factor due to the low amounts of dihydrotestosterone flowing through your circulatory system. Equally, chronic fatigue, reduced pubic hair, a marshmallow type body. You know, if you're built like a marshmallow, then it could be a contributing factor of the low amounts of DHT flowing through your blood. Equally, the maybe more medical and scientific vernacular we can use is gynecomastia, individuals who are struggling with this kind of B cup, C cup, D cup, double D cup situation they may have, could be a consequence of low amounts of androgens. Underdeveloped penis and testicles. Like I prefaced this before, guys, the reason that you're sitting here as a man, a biological man, why is that a commonality now, that particular phrasing? Man, by nature, by very definition in the dictionary, unless the left have changed it by now, is referring to a man of biological characteristics, including an Adam's apple, including male genitalia. But we're going in a different direction here. The reason that you're sitting here with those blessings is a consequence of dihydrotestosterone changing your sex in vitro in the embryo. Because we actually all start out as women, and it's only due to certain genes turning on and certain hormones being activated, which turns on those genes, why you develop in the way that you have developed. So let's stop demonizing DHT. You know, we can talk about the factors such as, you know, it being what would you say, mentioned in things like male pattern baldness. Okay, we can talk about that, that's fine. But again, the reason that we are here as a man is because of DHT. Some other interesting anecdotes to note is low semen viscosity, a watery kind of consistency to your sexual fluid is a consequence of low DHT. Extended refractory period, meaning you're not recovering, and sexual fatigue is quite debilitating for you. You know, perhaps if you're in a relationship and you're finding that your libido is low, and again you're finding it difficult to recover from bouts of coital relations. And I am also of the opinion that there could be low pheromonal production after the fact, and this leaves you a emaciated, irritable individual like we can see described in this particular picture. So I wanted to share with you the synthesis of DHT and the androgenic pathways that contribute to its permeation in your system. So of course we have free-base testosterone. From free-base testosterone, we have things like cholesterol, fat being a precursor to a lot of hormonal health. In fact, most of our cells are made up of molecules and fat globulin. 5-alpha reductase. This is going to be a very, very important enzyme that if you've spent any time researching literature around masculine gene expression, you're going to be very, very familiar with. So 5-alpha reductase, as I've established, is an enzyme that allows you to convert testosterone, free-base testosterone, the active component of testosterone in your blood, into dihydrotestosterone. From there, and we can talk about, I didn't want to get too scientific for you guys, and all these details will be in my books, but there are other enzymes that can convert DHT into the aforementioned pheromones that I prefaced this particular video with. And my theory, the ideas I have ruminating around my mind, is the minimal attraction, or the level of which you can attract, is inhibited by the precursor DHT being in your blood. Right, so you recognize if 5-alpha reductase isn't deriving DHT from testosterone, then we're further not going to get the synthesis through the other enzymes into some of the pheromones that have shown evidence through scientific studies in female ovulation and preferences in sweat and semen and urine, which is where these components are active. Now, finasteride is something that you will probably have heard of if you suffer from early onset baldness, male pattern baldness. It is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor, so it actually stops this enzyme from working to the full capabilities and creating DHT. There are some other ones as well. There's something for me still to research and look into in respects to what is the primary component to that particular negative side effect that a lot of men are seeking to get away from. But I don't know, I suppose it depends on your preferences. I mean, I went bald for a while. I shaved my head. I don't know if some of you are around for that, for those videos, but maybe you can have a look back, maybe 2-3 years ago. I mean, I'm fortunate to be blessed with fairly good hair genetics, I believe. But I was, shaving my head with a zero, just getting a shaver and going through that, and I don't think I looked too bad. It's an interesting, I know it's probably off topic, argument. Is long hair more masculine or short hair? If you asked me a couple of years ago, I certainly would have said, short hair, a bald head is very, very masculine look. I think I would still keep with that idea. But boredom and my recent readings of Samson and his power being related to his length of hair has gotten me curious about what I can do. And if you've got good genes in certain departments, it's better to play to your strength, wouldn't you say? So again, this idea is that we are going to contribute to optimal masculine gene expression within what our mother and father gave us, and understanding these pathways and how they can affect other areas of DHT, masculine gene expression, such as pheromone attraction and becoming Weapon X. How does this make me feel, Jose, is one of the words. If I have DHT flowing through my blood, I say, have you ever seen X-Men? Yeah, you feel like Weapon X. Increase zeal and vigor. Zeal and vigor. The interesting, what would you say, relationship between, if you've read any Vedic text, is this notion that when you are full with testosterone, because of some of the aforementioned practices that will allow you to express testosterone or masculine genes to your greatest capacity, let's say abstinence, is that idea of things like ojas, which is a Vedic term to mean a glow, an aura around someone, actually just related to this very, very simple endocrine aspect of, I've just got upregulated hormones, I've got more DHT in my blood, and I'm sure it's more complicated than that, but it's interesting to entertain that idea. Of course, increased fertility and virility in this aspect. More stoic, you've got better mood equilibrium. You're no longer going through these big peaks and valleys in relation to heightened euphoria and then crippling depression. Confident, assertive, direct, and penetrative. It's interesting when you think about the idea of masculine, and you can relay some of the characteristics to your, let's say, sexual counterpart. It is the counterpart of your genitalia to to assert, to penetrate, and the feminine counterpart to yield, to accept, to submit to. And equally, you can see how your hormones are indicative of those characteristics of your penis and testicles. Cortisol resistant and resilient and cognitively at your best. So again, it's very, very compelling. I want to talk about some measurable markers. This is a lot of my interpretation of these markers, but from which you can talk about increased muscle tone. The strength, density, and graininess of your muscles is a factor that some studies have commented on in relation to elevated levels of DHT in the blood. You become a big bear boy. More pubic hair growth, more hair growth in general, beard, hair, back, everywhere. Vascular, so you get that kind of veiny, vascular, very powerful look, as DHT can act as a vasodilator, which basically means the veins are wider and more blood flow can go through them. Of course, you would expect improved libido, better insulin sensitivity, so you're not holding too much adipose tissue, too much extra fat and weight, and deeper voice pitch as well, all attributed to DHT synthesis. Now we're going to go through some things that you can do to optimize a system that you can optimize DHT. It's really important to remember that DHT synthesis happens from 10% of free base testosterone levels. So the first one is always going to be just optimize free base testosterone. And I prefaced before that a precursor to testosterone is cholesterol. So you need to make sure that you're eating enough saturated fats over polyunsaturated fats, which are your deadly seed oils, inflammatory markers, things like that. I'm of the opinion that fat is one of the most disrespected nutrients in modern times, and that's a consequence of this abhorrent rhetoric by the sugar industry, which is trying to capitalize on fear and get you to buy their products. The irony is, it is sugar that makes you fat, not fat. Good sources, I love high fat ground beef, very, very cheap as well. Coconut oil, MCT oil. I won't get it because it's too far away, but in my mornings when I'm fasting, I have a black coffee and I have MCT oil, which is essentially coconut oil in my coffee. Good for ketones, good for brain function, and doesn't knock you out of your fast. Fat is excellent for controlling insulin sensitivity. So a while ago when I was practicing for the NHS here in England, which is the National Health Service, as a clinician, I was supporting a lot of individuals, a lot of patients with type 2 diabetes or pre-type 2 diabetes. And the number one cure for type 2 diabetes is restricted eating and fat. That's all you need to eat. Well, I wouldn't say all you need to eat, but I'm simplifying things. Because fat doesn't spike your insulin, not nearly as aggressively as some of the carbohydrates and certainly sugar as well. It's also great for hormone health. Butter, tallow, duck fat, anything saturated in fat is going to be tremendously good for you. Now we can talk about lowering prolactin, such as which is a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor. I've talked about this extensively before in most of my videos. But high levels of prolactin can of course suppress the production of gonadotropin releasing hormones, so GnRH, which in turn can lead to decreased production of luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. So luteinizing hormone is a key contributor to turning on some of the markers in your testicles actually for producing testosterone. So we want to make sure that this hormone, this luteinizing hormone, is functioning well. It's in your testicles and could indirectly affect the activity of 5-alpha reductase, which, as we've established before, is going to be the enzyme moving, or let's say synthesizing, DHT from free base testosterone levels. Number 3, really interesting, is creatine. There's evidence of a significant increase in DHT by up to 56% after 7 days of creatine loading in certain professions like rugby as well. I believe I'm sure you've heard it before, creatine is the most researched supplement out of all the supplements. Sorry, you should know that already. So in that way, it's very, very safe. If you are doing any kind of sport, any kind of training that has a strength component and you're not supplementing creatine, you are a dummy. You're a dummy. I'm sorry, but the potency in this remark in terms of increased strength, particularly that factor, is significant. And also it plays a role in DHT upregulation. Boron, I'm not going to say too much on boron because I've done a whole video exclusive to that. Go back and watch it. It is absolutely tremendous. It is a non-essential trace mineral, but I believe in a couple years or the years to come, it will become essential. In my opinion, there's virtually no downside to taking boron. Caffeine, very, very interesting. Regular coffee consumption boosts testosterone and DHT levels, and caffeine supplementation at doses of 2 to 4 milligrams per kilogram and is able to boost DHT by up to 57%. The dose would be 160 milligrams to 320 milligrams per day for an 80 kilogram man, which is easily obtainable with 3 cups of coffee a day or 1 to 2 double espressos. Now, I just want to mention here something. Can I see all you guys going, Joseph, I don't want to drink too much coffee. It's not good for me. Fine. We're exclusively talking about DHT here. Right? That is the point of this video. I'm not talking, I'm perhaps referencing, and the point of this caveat is to reference holistic health and optimal function in other areas, but exclusively if we're talking about DHT, if you're a man interested in upregulating DHT, it's a consideration. It's a consideration. Zinc. God bless zinc. Studies have shown that zinc deficiency can lead to decreased testosterone levels, which can indirectly affect DHT because there's less of it we can synthesize through our 5-alpha reductase enzyme. Therefore, correcting a zinc deficiency may potentially help restore testosterone levels, which in turn can upregulate DHT. Zinc, in my personal opinion, is a foundational supplement in your stack, and irrespective of who you are, you should be supplementing with zinc. It's remarkable. You can see a general idea here, and the idea is to avoid inhibitors of 5-alpha reductase, which is going to be essential for us synthesizing DHT in the first place. Some sources that I found that actually inhibit 5-alpha reductase are green tea, pumpkin seeds, and soybeans, so stay away from those. If we move on, other evidence suggests that other supplementation such as sorghum, tribulus terrestris, and nicotine and raw milk can be considered for upregulation in DHT, dihydrotestosterone. So guys, again, I know there's a nasty reputation around DHT in terms of male pattern baldness, but please, if you're looking at this big red chart here and going, a lot of these are attributed to me, then some of the considerations should certainly be made in relation to mitigating 5-alpha reductase inhibitors and adding things that will upregulate that enzyme and upregulate free base testosterone in your blood. These are no theories today, these are facts. Speak soon.